It's finally happening. 3 major Trump-era Social Security changes are hitting the system starting August 1st, and the effects are much bigger than anyone expected. Whether you're collecting Social Security retirement benefits, SSI, SSDI, VA payments, or just trying to understand what the IRS is doing with your tax credits, this is one of those moments you simply can't ignore. These changes aren't based on rumors or online drama. They're tied directly to real policy updates and fiscal shifts that have quietly built up since Trump's administration. And now, after years of delays and debates, they're being activated in ways that could affect your monthly benefits, eligibility, and even how your payments are taxed or delayed. Now here's the thing, this isn't some scare tactic or political spin. We're talking about factual, confirmed policy movement that is already showing up in SSA bulletins and legislative updates. The problem is, most people won't even hear about these changes until they're already feeling the impact in their bank accounts. And by then, it's often too late to make the right financial decisions. That's exactly why this update is so important. If you're on a fixed income, trying to make the most of your Social Security check, any reduction, even by a few dollars, can feel like a gut punch. On the other hand, if you know what's coming, you may be able to adjust, plan ahead, or even challenge mistakes that the SSA might make on your record. These 3 changes affect how your benefits are calculated, when they're distributed, and how other federal programs like SSI and SSDI are connected to your payments. And yes, veterans are included in this too. If you've served, if you're disabled, if you're retired, or even if you're still working part-time while collecting benefits, this directly concerns you. We've combed through the policy updates, looked at what's changing and why, and in the next few minutes, we'll break it all down in plain English so you're not left guessing. Stay tuned, because the next few weeks could bring the biggest shakeup to your benefits in years. Now, let's really get into what's happening behind the scenes here. These 3 Trump-era changes being triggered on August 1st didn't come out of nowhere. In fact, they were part of broader legislative discussions that started several years ago during debates over Social Security reform, cost of living adjustments, and long-term funding for federal benefit programs. Back then, these policies were proposed to tighten up the system and curb what some lawmakers saw as overspending or inefficiencies. But here's the kicker. Many of those changes were shelved or delayed due to pandemic-related relief programs, emergency legislation, and changes in political leadership. Fast forward to now, and suddenly, several of those policy decisions are being quietly reactivated, many without much media coverage or warning to the public. That's why so many people are caught off guard. The system is shifting again, and unless you've been watching the fine print closely, it's easy to miss until it hits your wallet. The first of these changes has to do with how your earnings history is factored into your benefit calculations. You know how the Social Security Administration uses your top 35 years of earnings to figure out your monthly check? Well, under these reactivated rules, the formula itself isn't changing, but the indexing of those past wages is. That means if you worked during a period that's now being recalculated using updated economic markers from those Trump-era decisions, your monthly payment could shift. And for some retirees, especially those who had gaps in their earnings or worked lower-wage jobs for years, the result might be a reduction rather than an increase. It's a technical adjustment, but it has very real consequences. We're already hearing from people who are noticing that their upcoming benefit statement is showing a different number than they expected. And unfortunately, most don't know why or how to challenge it. The second change revolves around payment timing and distribution prioritization. This one's a bit complicated, but it's critical to understand. There's a quiet restructuring happening at the SSA where they're testing out newer systems to prioritize certain types of benefit distributions over others. What that really means is that some groups, like retirees versus SSI recipients, might see different processing speeds or even payment dates. Now, this ties directly back to a cost efficiency model that was developed during Trump's term, which aimed to modernize SSA systems, but also emphasized automation and reduced administrative costs. On paper, it sounds efficient. In practice, it means that some people might see delays, especially if their benefit category is flagged for manual review or if there's a discrepancy in their paperwork. If you've ever had to call the SSA and wait on hold for hours just to get a question answered, you know how frustrating that kind of slowdown can be. Then there's the third change, and this one has people truly shocked, especially those who are receiving multiple types of federal support. We're talking about people who are collecting Social Security retirement along with VA benefits, or SSI. What's happening here is a new round of cross-checks between federal databases that were proposed years ago under a push for fraud prevention and budget tightening. Basically, these databases are now communicating more than ever before, and that's leading to red flags being raised over old records, mismatched information, or even benefit overlaps. In theory, this should only affect people gaming the system. But the reality? Innocent folks are getting flagged too, especially those who changed addresses, updated their marital status, or filed amended tax returns over the past few years. Suddenly, your benefit gets frozen, or you get a letter from the SSA asking for proof of something you submitted 5 years ago. And again, it's happening quietly, without major public announcements or clear instructions on how to fix it. This all might sound overwhelming, but here's the good news. Knowledge is power. If you understand what's going on and how to track these changes, you can protect yourself and even take steps to challenge unfair reductions. One of the most important things you can do right now is log into your My Social Security account and check your benefit estimate for August and beyond. If anything looks different than what you saw earlier this year, don't wait. Contact the SSA and ask for a breakdown. You also want to check the earnings history section and make sure all your work years are being counted correctly. Even a small error in 1 year can impact your lifetime payout significantly. And if you're someone who receives SSI or SSDI along with your retirement benefits, be extra cautious. Make sure all your information with the SSA, IRS, and VA is up to date and matches exactly. These systems are now cross-referencing everything, and mismatches are causing delays. Another piece of the puzzle that's frustrating a lot of people right now is the lack of communication from federal agencies. Most of these updates are being rolled out quietly, buried in administrative reports or technical documents that regular people aren't expected to read. That's why channels like this one are so important. We break down the fine print, explain what's really happening, and give you the information in plain, honest language. No spin. No fear-mongering. Just facts that help you stay ahead of the curve. And if there's one thing that keeps coming up again and again in these changes, it's this: retirees and disabled individuals are being asked to do more of the legwork. Whether it's tracking down missing documentation, calling for clarification, or appealing a decision, the responsibility is increasingly shifting onto the individual. That's why it's never been more important to stay organized and informed. We're also keeping a close eye on how this could tie into upcoming political debates. As we get closer to the next presidential election, Social Security reform is going to be a major topic. Some lawmakers want to reverse these Trump-era adjustments, arguing they unfairly burden lower-income seniors. Others want to double down on them, claiming they're necessary to preserve the system. Regardless of where you stand politically, it's important to know how these changes impact you and your family, not just in theory, but in dollars and cents. Your benefits aren't just numbers on a page, they're your livelihood, your rent, your food, your medication. And any disruption, no matter how small, can cause major stress if you don't see it coming. That's why we're going to continue monitoring this issue very closely. We'll be reviewing SSA data, speaking to financial experts, and even talking to retired government workers who've seen this all before from the inside. And if anything new comes out, whether it's a reversal, a clarification, or even just a clearer explanation, you'll hear about it right here. You won't need to dig through pages of legal language or wait on hold with a federal agency just to understand your rights. We've got you covered. So if you're feeling confused, frustrated, or even a little anxious right now, you're not alone. Thousands of Americans are waking up to this news and trying to figure out what it means for their future. The best thing you can do is stay tuned, stay proactive, and stay informed. These changes are real, they're already underway, and they will affect how and when your benefits are paid. But with the right information, you can prepare, adapt, and most importantly, protect what you've earned over a lifetime of hard work.